Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the final season of Longmire. So, obviously, with these type of things, I talk about everything in general. Obviously, first of all, I'm going to be kind of going non-spoiler, just give you my overall thoughts to what I thought about the final season. And then, obviously, after I'll make a clear point where I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm going to start talking through spoilers. So, obviously, at that point, if you had not seen a season, you can bow out. But if you just want to get my regular thoughts, well, here they are. Like, in all honesty, a fantastic way to end this series. A lot of developments didn't go the way I did. There's certain developments I was actually surprised didn't take up all of the season. Obviously, I'll dive a lot more into that spoiler-wise, but I'm glad with the way everybody's story ended. It ended up very nicely. All storylines tied up very nicely. Getting to see where everyone's respective stories ending, and I loved it all across the board. I mean, that's really all I can really say. Like, that's like a quick non-spoiler thing, because I really want to dive into everything that went down this season. So that's really quickly run down. Like, if you have not checked out the final season, it is well worth it. It's a blast. It's an amazing ride from beginning to end. So that's it. Right now, I'm telling you right here and now that I will be going into spoiler territory at this point in time. You have been warned, so spoilers start now. Dude, okay, first of all, the thing I just referenced about, like, it didn't take up the entire season, the civil suit against Walt, I thought that would not be solved until the very end of the season. It literally got resolved episode 6. Yeah, because like around 7, which was like, oh yeah, I got my job, I'm in the clear. Dave did an amazing job. It is sad because it's like everything was stacked against Walt. Yeah, Tucker coming after Walt. Like last season, he made it apparently clear. Even this season, he made it super apparently clear. I'm coming after you because I want to. It doesn't matter whether it was really a wrongful death suit with the whole Barlow situation. All that matters is that I want to take you out, and just because we can. And it's not just him, the mayor. What a piece of crap the mayor is. He was kind of an asshole last season, but it's like even more so. Weren't these first seasons, like these later seasons, was the first time he ever popped up, right? I'm trying to remember. I don't remember him popping up at all in the earlier seasons. Maybe he did. I don't know. I don't think he ever played a big part in the story. But he's such a douchebag. Every chance he gets, it's like, oh, the moment Tucker died, it's like, oh, like, I need you to sign your resignation right now. Be doing your best for everyone. It's like, you piece of crap. You and the judge even the judge was kind of leaning hard on him. It's like, dude, the fact is, it's Walt. Walt has had his job for such a long time. Couldn't you cut him a little slack, kind of give him a little leeway? But I guess that's the whole point about him being corrupt. I love that dude Trey trying to be on a jury. He's like, yo, about time somebody did something about some corrupt cops, as someone who's kind of fallen victim to the system time and time again. But what really got me about that situation, I was not expecting Jacob's testimony to be like, oh, kind of I don't know whether because Sam set him up to answer that questions, like those 2 questions he asked, which led to Nighthorse being like, oh yeah, there's emails from Barlow setting this whole thing up that basically he wants Walt's land, that basically this entire thing's been a conspiracy to go down after Walt and ruin his name, but did not expect it, especially after over the course of the entire series, the bad blood between Walt and Jacob. Did not expect that. But for him, he did say something of like, well, he knows what it's like, as seeing another man get his land taken by someone else, and didn't see it right with him. But at the same time, it's like he wanted to tell the truth. Now, later on, Walt's kind of like takes it and is like, well, the fact of the matter is you just wanted me in your corner so that you can use me. It's like, it's give and take with that. Like, with the way Jacob's story ends up playing out this season, you kind of go, I kind of see that. But part of me wants to think there is some good in him that was like, hey, because I forgot who brought it up, but there's that whole conversation about, it's kind of still, in this series they use dogs, but obviously it's the whole metaphor about wolves. Like, you have a good wolf in you and a bad wolf. Like, which one wins depends on, they're both fighting all the time, but which one wins ultimately is decided by which one you feed the most. So it's really hard to say. Like, I want to say it is. The fact is that Jacob ended up wanting to use and manipulate Walt by being like, oh, I'm in your favor. I thought it was kind of awkward. I was like, come on, don't come blaming him about the whole, thing. This is obviously this whole, smuggling in this heroin, these 20 kilos. It's like, that's obviously Malachi, don't do this, Walt. It just, especially because you're right here thanking him for it and then immediately kind of stabbing in the back. Oh, well, never mind. It turns out Jacob was kind of dirty from the beginning anyway. So I like that though, because it vindicates everything that Walt's ever really said about Jacob, because everyone's like, oh, you're being paranoid. You're being crazy, you know? So to me, that's such a good thing, because it's like, well, it's almost kind of like a smug moment of like, I told you he's always been a bad guy, which it's debatable at what point in time. Like, obviously, even Jacob himself admits, I've kind of done some shady stuff. So I shouldn't be too, it's not too surprising, but still. That whole Shane storyline too, Shane Muldoon, I wasn't expecting that to turn the way it did, especially with him dying. Didn't really expect that. I was like, oh man, we're setting him up as the main antagonist. And then it's like, okay, so I guess he, because it's like, I should have figured the last time him and Walt crossed paths, it wasn't going to be the last time, because at that point, like, Walt caught his eye. So now it's like, I was like, oh, now that this situation is like, you give me Malachi, or, I make your job harder for you. Wasn't expecting him to be dead. That really caught me off guard. Like, just because I was like, I didn't expect Malachi to be the final essential antagonist of the series. I was thinking like it was going to be Shane, but it's like, nope, Shane ends up dead, because Malachi was probably worried because Walt's come after Shane not once but twice now. Directly, they've met face to face, and he's been ready to kind of basically pull the trigger on Shane. So I guess for him, that was too much of a possibility of things going wrong. So it's like, Shane's too much of a loose end, so I had to take him out. I didn't expect that, because it's like, well, he's at the top of the Irish mob. But I guess that also plays into who Malachi is, showing you just how much of a bad guy he is. Even at the end, making Jacob like, oh yeah, right, basically recording a suicide video so that basically everything from the casino can be passed on to him. But, God, so much went down. Okay. Going back to it, the Tucker being murdered, didn't see that coming. Especially when like Matthias brought Walt over, is like, yep, look who's dead. Oh, look, don't look like you're teary-eyed about this. It's like, especially because literally before that, Dave was wondering, it's like, could you stop looking at him like that? He's like, what? You're looking at him like you want to kill him, so. But that, and then also it turning out to be Lucien, I had a feeling, because I was like, Lucien's being a little too damn helpful. It's like, he's doing this on purpose, isn't he? Like, I was like, I had this gut feeling about it, and I didn't want it to be him, so, but it sadly turns out to be the case. Because for him, it's like, he went to talk to Tucker, but the way Tucker responded, he's like, well, and he took, it's one of those situations, and it kind of plays a role in what Walt kind of walks away from this series, saying like, maybe he stayed in it too long, because it's like, at that point, the lines start getting a little blurred, like, you start crossing more and more lines, which is what kind of gets Walt in trouble in this entire situation in the first place, was apparently, because this isn't just about the Barlow situation, it's about everything his entire career stacked up against, and I think they did such a beautiful job handling that, because it's basically undermining everything he's ever done. It even had him and Henry, like, Henry had to admit to him the whole Trot situation before. It's like the whole thing that happened on Crow Reservation. Yeah, like, that got blamed on Walt, but it was like Henry who did it. And this situation, like, Lucien didn't want it to fall back on Walt. He didn't think it would, but it's just he wanted to do the right thing, because he's like, he sees what kind of a good man Walt is. That's saying a lot, considering the fact is it was his brother that died. But ultimately, it's like, well, the fact of the matter is, I never really cared too much about his brother. But it's kind of sad how the situation ends, because for Lucien, like, ends up turning it into a draw between him and Walt. He ends up shooting Walt's leg, and Walt ends up shooting him in the head. And he kind of gives himself a cowboy ending. Like, it's like, I want to die with style. Like, he's already sick. He's ending at that point of his life anyway. He's done what he's done. I'm not about to go to prison for this. And it's just, I mean, it's sad, because ultimately when you think about it too, I don't think I thought about it at the time when I was watching the episode. That's the end of the Connolly line. Like, Lucien was the last one standing, because let's not forget Barlow killed Branch, piece of crap. It's also interesting too, because we got to meet Barlow's ex-wife, Alex, which was kind of an interesting thing. I wonder why they decided to do that. That was I guess just because she was like a one-off character in the final season. Like, the way they make it seem like too, because even Vic was like, oh, who is she? To my recollection, I don't remember ever popping up. There might have been conversations about her, but I don't remember too much. It's super sad actually because her introduction was just basically like, yeah, Barlow, actually when we got divorced, he kept me away from Branch. I couldn't even see my own stepson. He died. I sent so many presents his way, but they always got sent back because Tucker and Barlow made me seem like an unfit person, like all I cared about was myself. Interestingly enough, that was the last time we saw her. We never saw her again. I guess after the whole situation with Lucien, she talked to the Connolly estate and got what she was owed, because basically that's what her own main reason for coming to town. Absaroka was all about that, but still, I mean, it was just kind of an interesting little thing, I guess. It's just because literally, I don't know if I've talked about this in recordings, but like that Brent situation still breaks my heart. Like, it's kind of one of the reasons why I kind of didn't want to go back and rewatch the beginning of the series, which I didn't. Just because every time I think about it, it's like, I'm going to have to get back to that point where Barlow kills Brent, because I was hoping so much when season 4 started that Brent wasn't dead. He was locked up somewhere. I know that was like literally 2 seasons ago, but I can't help it. It's just that bothers me so much. But, so there's that. There's Bob. I thought something was a little fishy because Bob just pops up a little bit here and there. I was like, what are they going to do with Bob's storyline this season? I was like, oh, he's helping Walt. Oh, Walt's going to give him a job. That's so awesome. And it turns out he's Cowboy Bill. Did not expect that twist. And it's like, so that's so interesting because it's like little parts you see Bill pop up here and there, like a couple minutes at a time, like every few episodes. So it's like, okay, so I guess Bob is just kind of being in the background. Oh, right. Because that's so interesting. I mean, it kind of makes sense too, because, his son's name is Billy and everything. And it's so interesting too because it's like, I mean, it's interesting in a sad sense too because it's like Bob is basically in a situation of like it's just like his entire storyline across the entire series has been bad. Kind of the drunk rodeo clown. Then there's the whole situation with Billy and him hitting Katie and Bob going to jail for it and Billy getting more deeper and deeper into drugs because of that whole situation. Didn't really suffer the consequences. Now he's in rehab. Bob's paying for it, but Bob's, got out of jail and it's just hard to keep up with it. So that's what this whole situation is about. And the thing is, even when it was all said and done, Bob was like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry if I scared you. And you have Walt deciding to cover for him. Also appreciate the fact is that right at the beginning of directly at the beginning of the season, you had Walt burying all the money he had stashed around his place. And Vic's like, what the hell are you doing? And he's just, I guess, kind of shows you Walt has his crazy moments. It's like, really? You're literally burying your money in the backyard. Not literally in the backyard. I mean, I don't know if that really would count as a backyard. I don't know relatively to his land and his house where that was particularly he dig his money. And funny enough, we never went back to him digging up that money. I'm sure he did, but we never actually got to see it though. But I forgot to give him major props. I think I brought him up earlier, but I forgot to really dive into how much of a BAMF Dave was sticking through with Walt this season. Especially when he was like, oh, you're trying to get, no. With the evidence that's most likely coming through from them emails, you're going to basically got the entire case against Walt drop, which was amazing. It's like, oh, that was so good. So I think it's also the situation makes it so that, well, I think the whole lawyer, I'm sure he still has to pay out the lawyer fees, but I think they're going to cover it too for all this stuff that he put him through. And that whole situation is the last time we see the mayor. Like, no apology or anything. It's just kind of like, I guess the mayor kind of got a little shamed because like after that, we never saw him again for the rest of the season/series. So it's just kind of one of those things. It's like, I wanted Walt to rub it in his face. You tried to fire me. I'm still here, but sadly it didn't work out like that. God, okay. So much else to talk about this season. Vic's situation is heartbreaking, dude. I did not expect things to kind of go down the way they did. I was thinking like, okay, she got shot in the leg after the whole Chance Gilbert thing. I was like, okay, it wasn't in the stomach. I was so certain he was going to shoot her in the stomach, but all the blood loss. And it's kind of sad because it's a give and take situation. It's because she was pregnant and losing all that blood. The baby saved her, but because of that, like the baby ended up dying. And seeing her struggle with that this season was like tough, especially the whole Travis situation, which we never got a conclusion to that. Travis just up and left because Vic never talked to Travis when Walt wanted her to. Just because like obviously like there was the whole debate of like, oh, who's the baby? And I love the whole conversation about Eamon, and then like you have Travis be like, wait, who is he? You think he's the daddy? Like, wait, what? I love that whole situation, him kind of getting jealous to the point he goes into the sheriff's office and starts looking to his files. It's like, it starts with an E and not an A, and then Travis is just like drunk and pissed and everything. Because when Vic was in the hospital, he couldn't be there. It's like they had their little thing, but he's not family. It's like, for him, it's messed up because Walt gets to be there, but that's just because Walt's sheriff and everything, you know? So, I mean, because the sad thing is, especially when, like, you see Vic doing all those things, like, trying to figure out more about the baby, like, oh, could I find out it's sex, but it was too early. Then it's like, oh, look, you can get a blood test run, but she never actually looked at the results. I am curious to find out who the baby daddy was. It does, I even love that later on, you know, Walt ended up telling Henry for that Eagle Challenge run, and Henry was like, wait, well, whose baby was it? Was it yours? He's like, Walt's like, wait, what? No. I was like, okay. Because it's like, yeah, nothing has ever happened between Walt and Vic. Even though there was like one of his past girlfriends that lovely ladies he dated over the course of the series. The first one ended up kind of thinking that because walked in on Walt and her, because she was staying in his place. I forgot what the exact circumstances were. I don't think it was the Shane Muldoon situation. I think it might have been. Was it during that? Either way, she caught them together, and that kind of set her off. That kind of broke up their relationship. Which actually, in retrospect, you think about it, over the course of this entire series, this is like the third relationship he's ever been subsequently with his wife, which is kind of like, well, and kind of makes sense, you know? And that was something Vic kind of touched on in the end, too, is like, are we even meant to be together? It's like we will always love the people we lost more. Like, I will always love my baby more than you. You will always love your wife more than me. It's just how it is. But it's like, for Walt, it's like, that's kind of like, that's just kind of how life is. Like, you have those people in your life, you think once they're gone, you're not going to move past it. But you will find a way. You know, you will find the strength to kind of find a way to move on. So, I'm surprised, and really quickly too, that Eamon's name kept getting thrown up so much. I'm surprised he didn't pop up in the show, but nevertheless. But going back to it, I am kind of sad that things didn't end the way they did, what you wanted them to with Travis. At the same time, I'm kind of like, I didn't want Vic and Travis to be together. It's like, I want you and Walt. It's literally been screaming at the audience the entire series. It's literally one of those relationships where it's like, you guys are partners, and there's literally things there. People suspect it, you feel it, you're just not acting on it. Which, to be fair, you can understand Walt's position in that too, because it's that situation of like, well, you're her boss, and it would look weird if you're dating your, like, one of your subordinates, one of your deputies, and it's just because it turns into a whole situation of power, and you mix that in with a relationship, things get a little hinky, and just, it's also interesting too, because we got to meet her dad this season, played by the same actor who plays Falcone on Gotham. I thought that was kind of interesting. First time we ever got to meet anyone outside of her family. Like I said, it was just kind of an interesting thing, throwing out these last minute introductions in the final season. I forgot she had like a crap ton of brothers, didn't she? Like, also the whole thing about her dad being Victor, her brother having the same name, and her being Victoria also being Vic, because he was like, "Oh, call me Vic," and you have Walt being like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm okay with that." You know, it's a little weird considering the fact is that's what he calls Vic all the time. You know, so. All right, and also the whole thing at the beginning. Let me run that back a little bit. The whole Henry situation, that Marilyn lady. What the fuck? Is all I gotta say. The moment she did that, it's like, oh, I saved your life. Oh, and leave it up to spirits. What? You're right here. I get they might cause some trouble, but it's always causing trouble for the right reasons. It's not like they come and cause trouble for nothing. It's like they're trying to help someone out, but it's like, what? I was like, you're crazy. You're just, what? And then you bring Walt there, and it's like, oh, you have the water, and then you leave, and then later on, near the, was that in the last episode or second in the last episode? She was basically, I think it might have been the last episode. She's basically like, hey, you didn't say that I had to stay around and help you. It's like, common sense would have just, what? I feel bad because she died in the end, but still, it's like, what? Because even her, she was kind of doing some shady shit too, because she was helping Malachi. But the main reason why she didn't want to help Malachi is because it's like, well, at first she's like, oh, well, he's like kind of like a dark beetle. Like they eat it. They're like, they'll kind of ruin trees and stuff like that. Basically almost comparing him to almost like a virus, essentially. I think another metaphor would be like, oh, he's like a virus just spreading and spreading, getting more people doing more evil and nefarious crap. And then admits, it's like, oh yeah, because the guys that she killed at the beginning of the season to save Henry, it turns out that Malachi pulled the bullets out of them and compared it to the deers, and it's like, oh, this chick's the one that killed my people, so it didn't work out for her. So even at the end, it wasn't like she was doing it for selfless reasons. She was doing it a little selfishly. it's like in a super super messed up way, and I'm such a douchebag for saying it. It's like karma kind of got her back. It's like you left Henry and them to die, and I mean he didn't die, but I mean I'll take it back. Like I'm gonna leave that in there. Like that's a douchebag thing to say. It just sucks that she did that. Not that I wanted her to die or anything like that. And I was hoping that she'd make it through, or at the very least, it's like, whoa, she just magically disappeared, and all of a sudden we see like a crow or a bird. Like similar situations have happened, especially when it's connected to Crow Reservation. Nevertheless, other things that took me by surprise this season were the whole Zach situation. Wasn't expecting Zach to come back, especially because he didn't pop up at all last season. And home dude he punched out and kind of got fired for, the dude that was secretly investigating him. I forgot what how that whole situation ended with him. Cause wasn't he supposed to be on the part of this whole trial situation? Well, he was just an investigator, so maybe, I don't know, maybe his partner trial never came up. But nevertheless, wasn't expecting Zach to pop up this season. That was kind of a nice curveball, because the last time we saw him was season 4, because basically they twisted it to make it look like, oh, he might be one of the suspects who shot Walt at the end of season 4, as obviously at the beginning of season 5, we know that not to be true. So, but that was kind of a nice, like, Ferg just randomly bumping into him during a case. I was like, part of me was like, oh, the fact is they're throwing you back in the show. Don't tell me that you're a bad guy. Please don't be a bad guy. Oh, good. In fact, he ended up getting hired. I did kind of think it was interesting that him and Katie kind of got together. I'm just going to talk about it. I love that at the ending, it's like, oh yeah, Walt's kind of like, yeah, I want you to be sheriff. I'm like, what? That's so cool. And she's like, what are you talking about, Dad? It's like, well, yeah, it's just like, I've been keeping to this job for so long, not because I loved it. I'm proud of the work I do. It's awesome. But it's like, no, I don't love my job. I only did it because there's no one I feel like I trust to take it over. And it's like, that person is you. I'm like, dude, it's like, but there's part of me that's hoping at the very end, we don't get to see it, but there's a part of me that's like, I kind of want to see Katie as, I kind of want to see her as, sheriff. I think that'd be kind of cool, especially with Zach being around too, because it's like almost bringing that, Walt and Vic situation, that, oh, there's something there situation, especially because her and Zach have like slept together like twice now. Even though it's like, well, there's no feelings between us. Well, obviously, because you don't actually know my last name, so don't feel like I have to worry about the whole future thing. Which now turns into a question of, well, is there going to be a thing now that you are together? Which obviously things didn't work out the last time that happened, because the last person she was in a relationship with was Branch. Which there's that whole question, there's a whole situation about Vic and Walt, because she was always worried about him dying. So I don't know. Because there's so many questions about that, because it's also, obviously Walt has a somewhat okay relationship with the cops on the res, in particular Matthias. He's got an okay relationship. There's always that crossing here and there. That was kind of nice, that the whole situation about when Wilkins was coming after them for Tucker's death. He's the one that told Katie to come and help out with that. So Matthias has always been kind of like, kind of always hard to say where his allegiances are, but at the same time, it's like he has no obligations to Walt. Oh, but he's a good cop and he does the right thing, So that's all, like, really all you can like chalk up from that whole situation. But the thing is, like, that whole there's that whole Kotori situation, obviously, and that's a situation that leaves you very conflicted, especially because it's like Katie had like the best of intentions. Like, Tate is sick, and we just want the best. We want him to get treatment, but then it's a situation of, like, you see it in other TV shows I've seen kind of feature it, the whole like parents not believing in Western medicine, want to believe more in holistic, alternative medicines, for each of the respective reasons. In this season situation, it's like, you can understand, like, in Tate's family situation, it's like, they've been kind of screwed over by the government before, this whole aspect of like, oh, taking your children away from you, but we're returning them to you. But it's like, they were removed from their family. In particular, Tate's dad's like, he was in like 41 different foster homes. Even Jacob himself brings it up, like, he was taken away from his family when he was 7 years old. It's something that everyone in the tribe can understand. They've been through that situation, or at the very least, they know someone has been through that situation. So things that kind of work in Katie's favor. Because the sad thing is, when they look at her, it's like, oh, when they look at her, they just see like, oh, this is another white person coming in to, like, take our children away. And it's sad that it worked like that. But Kotori, because to me it's so interesting, because it's like the one who suffered the biggest ramifications was Katie. It's like I don't feel like Kotori. I mean, to be fair, we never really got to saw. Yeah, people have problems, but I feel like Katie's the one that suffered the most ramifications for it because of just who she is. And she ends up bringing it up later on. It's like she saw an abusive husband. That they saw her. It's a situation of like, okay, you're one of us, you're on our side. But then this situation, it makes him go like, no, 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 you're not one of us, and pushes her out. Which is which I'm bringing up is like, what does that mean going forward? Like her being sheriff, like what would that mean for like the whole situation of like the relationship going forward? Especially because things kind of ended a little sourly to the point they broke down her business and everything. She lost a lot of her clients. Jacob had pretty much cut her budget anyway. Which, to be fair, there's the whole situation with him, which I assume landed him back in jail when it was all said and done. I figured Walt would save him in the end because it's kind of interesting because if you tie this all back into season 5's finale where Katie had the vision, obviously a lot of it came through. There's the whole like Mandy scrubbing blood, but I guess that was supposed to represent the fact is, and her looking at Katie, I guess that's supposed to represent the fact is the relationship souring. That was also the question, where do they stand? Also, the actress who plays her, Tamara Duarte, I think. Yeah. I'm probably mispronouncing that, so I do apologize. I kept looking, I was like, why does she look so familiar? Why does she look from somewhere here? Then it clicked. I was like, oh my god, she played Rosita in season 2 of Winona Earp. Just kind of interesting, 2 Western shows. Obviously, that being like a supernatural Western show where this is kind of a crime drama police procedural Western show to a certain aspect, but it was just like, oh, that's where I recognize you from. It's super sad that she ended up doing that, like betraying Katie's trust because like, oh, we're supposed to be like sisters, but then you betray me. But for her, it's like after you're asking me to choose between you and my people, they're my people, not you. And it's like if I didn't do it, like, you know, there's crowds of people. So like I said, I'm just curious to see where that whole situation goes, like for her going forward as mayor. I mean, not as mayor, but as sheriff. Also, since I accidentally slipped to say his name because I was thinking about it, what does that mean for the mayor? Like going forward? I mean, will that kind of look bad on him? Say, oh yeah, like you try to push the whole Longmire situation before, try to get her dad pushed out, and it's like, oh yeah, she's here, and everyone loves Katie just because all she's done, especially when you compare it to the good work she's done. But once again, it's also a situation of like, I don't know if that's going to negatively affect her, especially when it comes like going forward, like the relationship between that office as well as the police department on the res, like especially like her and Matthias. So I'm curious about that. I think it'll be good because especially because like the last thing Matthias said to her in the episode was like, yeah, he's like actually sorry to hear that she's quitting what she's doing because like she was doing a good job because she was being the only like representation that they were getting, at least from a lawyer standpoint, to help them with everything. So once again, it's a situation of like Kotori shouldn't have done what she did, but at the same time, it's like you understand why she did it. That's why Katie went along with it in the end, because it's like I was also worried because I was like something's going to go wrong just to screw Katie over, and it's going to turn into a whole law situation. I was like, there's going to be a repeat of what happened to Walt. I was like, especially because it was Eddie, the Irish mob assassin that was helping administer the medicine and stuff like that. I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be like drugs or something, and Tate's gonna die, and it's all gonna blow back in Katie's face. Turned out not to be the case. Seems like Tate's perfectly fine, back with his family, but it still didn't stop any of the fallout, you know. So another thing this season, Ferg meeting Meg's mom. I loved it because it's like her mom saying all this racist stuff, and Meg's like, "You shut up, mom. I told you we don't talk like that. We don't talk like that." I'm like, that's so good, especially because of her particular situation. She's got cancer, and she's kind of, in Meg's words, she has chemo brain. She stole those chips. Meg had to pay for it. Then it turns to that whole situation where Jamie was riding her around because she's trying to sell it. And I love that Jamie's like, oh yeah, I got Uber. He's like, I mean, but not Uber, because it's like, you know, because of his criminal background with what he does and everything. I love that was literally, now that I think about it in retrospect, he pops up every once in a while, but it's like, that was his only appearance in the entire season, was just that part. And it's just like, he didn't even get paid for all the running around he did for her. I also love the fact is that Ferg and the whole, like, Reggie situation. I was like, because even I was like, oh my god, is it Reggie? I was like, nah, it's just gonna look like you're the jealous type. Even Zach kind of pointed it out, and even Ferg was like, yeah, I kind of see. The moment he was like, well, don't try to fit the evidence, just tell the truth. I was like, okay, good. I was like, that's great. Okay, so Ferg, please get some evidence, make it so that it is Reggie, but the fact of the matter is you're able to prove it. But then I start thinking like, well, Megan wasn't around. I'm like, she lied about where she was. I was like, oh my god, is she in on it too? But then it's like, did she blows up because it's like I was helping my mom, you sack of crap, and it's like Reggie does have an alibi, and it's just like, ugh, it just all fell apart. Because the moment she's like, it's like, okay, when they were talking to the neighbor, and she's like, you can't talk. Can we talk to your son? It's like, oh, you can't. And the moment she said, I was like, she didn't say he was dead, did she? And Ferg's like, yeah, she can't. He's dead. It's like, what? No, he's not. And Ferg's looking like, yeah, you didn't bother. It just, that's what happens because for Ferg, and it was something that I thought was kind of interesting too, was how Walt handled it. He was basically like, hey, you're copying me. I have a tendency to when I have a gut feeling, I go all in. I never investigate information that contradicts what I believe. And we see that happen a lot of times with Nighthorse, which ultimately it's like, well, a lot of what he said about Jacob was true. Wasn't expecting things to kind of fall out the way they did. Because ultimately, especially with the vision that Katie had, I think I was going to go back to that, but I kind of like trailed off because I go on tangents like that. The fact of the matter is, I thought things were going to literally turn into a battle the way that was. But obviously, it's up for interpretation. Because even the whole Henry hanging situation, well, that meant his life was kind of hanging in a balance type of thing. So, but still, like, I thought it was going to be like, oh, Walt and Jacob go head to head. I guess arguably they do, but it's a situation of like all the stuff that Jacob's done in secret, going up against Walt, trying to get the truth, essentially. So, I mean, this season also did amazing things for, like I said, everyone's relationship. Obviously, you have Vic and Walt finally getting together. Finally. And like I said, I brought it up earlier. It's like a lot of situations like this, especially crime dramas. It's like, oh, you have these two partners. So obviously, there's something there, but maybe something completely never happens with it. And even if it does, it's usually earlier on and it kind of continuing over the rest of the series. It's like, no, Vic and Walt literally don't have their first kiss. Had they kissed before this? Like, a kiss wasn't until the end where he kind of grabbed her and they kissed. I was like, yeah, but it's a little awkward and weird because I'm like, I'm so used to you not, like, showing your feelings. So seeing you, like, kiss and have sex kind of throws me off because it's like, it's so on you because it's kind of like a will they or won't they type of situation for literally 6 seasons. And when it happens, it kind of catches me off. I'm like, oh, whoa. I was like, I was halfway expecting him to do it because it's that conversation of like, I can't lose you. I can't lose you either. So there's that. Walt and Henry, I'm glad their relationship got repaired, especially after the whole like Hector situation. That got a little wonky. Because I mean, obviously, because they Henry and Walt had never bumped heads as hard as they did last season, where it literally came to blows. But immediately after the whole saving Henry situation, it seems like they kind of mended fences. Same applies to him and Katie. Like, obviously, Katie had problems with him, especially when she went to beat the crap out of Jacob, because it's like, oh, the spikes that were used to hold Henry down were from his garden, and it's like she beat the crap out of him. So we ultimately never, like I said earlier, we never got to see what happened to him ultimately in the end, but I assume he got arrested. It is good that Walt did save him. I like that little flashback of being like, yeah, here's years of bad blood between them. It's like, what will Walt do? It's like Walt said to himself, it's like Jacob deserves to go to jail, but he doesn't deserve to die. So also interesting too is the fact is that Henry runs a casino in the end. Didn't expect that, and I love that little twist. I mean, it's such an interesting thing because it's like for Walt, it's like, and it's even something Henry brought up. It's like Martha and Walt worked so against it for such a long time, just because it's kind of bad for Absaroka, but at the same time, it's like it's good for Henry's people. It's good for the Cheyenne, and so Walt was like, okay, I need you to step up, because obviously if you don't step up, someone else will, whether it be another Malachi, whether it be another Jacob. It's like Henry has proven himself to be a good man. Yes, he's done some questionable things with the Hector situation, but even then, it's like he'd always had the best intentions in mind. So he always kind of didn't always go about things the right way, but he's still a good man at heart, you know? And so So it's a little weird seeing him in that position. It also makes you wonder, what about the bar? I mean, there was other people kind of running it anyway, so I guess he sold it off or whatever, but or at the very least keeps it open and other people run it. Like I'm just curious about that. This is also the first time in the no, it wasn't. I think the first time we ever saw Walt drink something aside from his canned beers was at the end of season 1 when that cop was asking him about questions from Denver. I think that was the first one of the many few times like you see Walt taking shots or something because he hit that whiskey hard, which led to the whole like, oh, did he kill Tucker situation? So, and I do like that even at the very end we have Walt, having a cell phone. Finally, it's like, of course they're going to give, and not only are they going to give him a cell phone, they're literally going to make it the last shot of the show. Is like, he finally got a cell phone. It took him forever. But I think it's also because that little thing too shows you a lot, because that one little thing shows you that Walt isn't stuck in his way. That's literally been the thing about the entire show, is the fact is Walt was stuck in his ways. He had his own way of handling things, the way he's doing things. That ever since the beginning with the him versus Branch about being sheriff, whether Walt gets to take his job or does one of his deputies come up and snatch it from him, that thing. Which now kind of puts that whole situation even more in perspective of like why he fought so hard to keep his job at the beginning too, because it's like he didn't trust Branch to do it right. But now it's like given enough time, he's seen everything that Katie's done, and it's just like now he knows that hey, she's ready to take this job from me. I don't know if he always had that thought in mind, because I'm sure he, that's his baby girl. He would never like ever put her in a position where it's like she would be in danger. So I'm sure he never had intentions to giving her the job. Maybe he always did. Maybe that was always supposed to be the thing. I don't know. But I just say, it's kind of interesting. I like the little touch of just, hey, he's got a phone. So the fact is, matter is, he is growing, especially because he's thinking about like, hey, I don't want to be in the same situation as Lucien. I don't want to wait till it's too late where I start crossing those lines more and more and more. Once again, he's already having to go through that now. So it's like, why push your luck even more, especially with things between him and Vic. And it's just like her worried about him and just always putting his life in danger, which also him being a badass, like, oh yeah, I got this knife wound from Malachi. It's like, well, slap a little alcohol on. It's fine. It's like, well, how many scars do you have? 12. 13, because it's like all guys automatically know how many scars they have. 6. Oh god, that was terribly implemented. Ignore me. I'm keeping it in because I deserve to be embarrassed for that. Like I said, everything from top to bottom was finished. You take that whole situation with Malachi, that whole operation has been dismantled. I guess because arguably when you come to like the main overarching thing, everything ended when Barlow died, because that kind of set basically everything in motion, because like for Barlow, like he was the one that set everything up for Martha to get killed. So it's kind of like, I guess that was kind of the end of one huge arc. And like after that proceeding, it was the whole other huge arc of like, yeah, having to deal with the ramifications of killing Barlow. Killing Barlow, who ended up killing Branch. So we will not let that go, dude. That's probably one of those things where it's a serious death that will never sit well with me. It just won't. I can't help it. It's just like certain deaths in Person of Interest. That's another show that's like more recently on my brain that kind of done that, where it's just like certain character deaths don't sit right with me. In other regards too, but that's just like another thing along the, it's relevant because it's also kind of on the same level of crime drama, police procedural type of thing that like, kind of fits with the whole crime-centric motif and stuff like that, so. Also, really quickly, mad props to Ferg at the end wearing the suit and showing up, trying to impress Meg. Sadly, we don't get to see everything unfold. Hopefully, I'd like to think, hey, you things worked out, because I did appreciate Beverly, her mom, being like, okay, that's nice, but it's all bullshit, Ferg. It's like, don't use words, it's like, do action. Basically make a grand gesture, because a lady will like that more, because it's like, hey, like, she likes, action speaks louder than words, essentially, so. And also the fact is, it's kind of interesting. I never really thought about it until they pointed it out, but the fact is that Shane faked Eddie's death with a gunshot wound to his head, and then lo and behold, it turns out like Ferg ends up kind of making that come true. And he got super pissed about that. I guess it's like Eddie was kind of like a son to him, or was like, oh, that was one of his most loyal soldiers. Because he made a comment about the fact is that like, oh yeah, it's hard to come by, because it's like at that time Walt had like Vic like backing him up, so it's like loyalty. So also, side note, am I remembering that wrong, or did he kind of like the way Walt made it seemed like Shane wasn't dead, that he did fake his death. Is that what that was saying? Or like, I mean, it's just a little weird that it's another headshot situation, but I mean, maybe that's just a way of handling, maybe that's Malachi's way of handling things. But the fact is that I don't know. Like, did Shane get away or not? It's hard to say. I think he died. Like, I mean, before I previously made it, like, but then my thought was like, wait, are they? Because there was a conversation, there was a line of dialogue that made it seem like Walt was like, oh, he's not dead, that he faked his death, that whole situation, kind of similar to the whole. I don't know. I think it's implied he is dead. Maybe I don't know. I shouldn't have included that, but it's in there anyway. So I do apologize. I just thought it was kind of interesting. I guess you could almost call it like poetic justice, the whole Ferg and Eddie situation, especially because Eddie was there during the whole situation of like Ferg getting ambushed last season. So, and for him, that was kind of him taking back the power because he felt helpless because he felt like he didn't do enough. Because you also saw it a little bit during the whole Cowboy Bill situation, is you kind of saw a little bit of that darker side of Ferg, because he's kind of been like, I mean, you see those moments where it's just kind of like, Ferg is just kind of like, how do I put it? It's hard to really put in words. He's not like especially because you heard him kind of the way he talked to Walt is like, oh, who gives a, oh, like, what was it? He was like, we know that, oh, Eddie wasn't going to give a shit, and he's like, part of my language. It's like that's not Ferg. He's always been kind of like the cuddly one. I'm not saying like he's super soft or super cuddly, but it's like that's never been him in the entire series. And you saw him, like, I thought that was going to continue more. And then I guess it served its purpose during the whole Reggie situation. It's like he was kind of off his game because of the whole thing, which even he later on, when he's talking to Zach, because Zach's like, I've never shot him. He's like, oh, you kind of be a little worried about the fact is of how quickly it doesn't bother you, you know? So, but yeah, I think, I'm guessing that's everything I really had to say. Like I said, overall, fantastic way to end this series. Like I said, it's always that situation when something comes to an end, you kind of want it to go on a little bit more. There's actually a part of me that kind of wants to keep talking a little bit more just because I don't think I have anything else left really important to say, because I'll just be rambling on, much like I have been for the entirety of this podcast anyway. But it's a situation of just like, you just want to keep talking a little bit more, because when this ends, it's officially over, you know? It's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things that I can always come back and rewatch the series, but it's still that situation of like, this is the end, there's no more Longmire after, there's no more stories. You can always imagine and pretend what goes beyond this, as I've kind of thrown out there already. But I don't know. Like I said, it's a satisfactory ending. We got to see everyone's endings. We got to see the story kind of tied up in a nice bow. So I do appreciate that. So fantastic ending to the series, in my opinion. So nice little send off to it, you know. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.